A new report putting that Republican fear front and center. The Obama administration, in a report it just submitted to the United Nations, now equating the difficulty of organizing a union here in America to a human rights offense. Big Labour's side in a moment, but first to Barbara Comstock, who says it's this report that is offensive, and she's with the Workforce Fairness Institute. Barbara, welcome to the program. Good to have you with us.
Good morning. Good to be with you, Stuart.
I've got to get this straight here. I can hardly believe that the United States government would submit a report to the United Nations blaming America for human rights abuses because of some perceived difficulties with unionization. Have I got that right?
Yeah, well, it truly is an outrage. It's really trivializing human rights to put, as you pointed out, one of these things is not like the other. There is not a threat to unionization in this country. You have small businesses exercising their First Amendment rights, saying they don't want unions. You have many American workers increasingly saying, we don't want to have job-killing unions, and we don't want to have dues
Barbara,
forced on us. So there's not a threat, and it shouldn't be in the report.
But is it accurate? I mean, have we submitted a report? No, not whether it's accurate.
Yes.
We have submitted such a report.
Yes.
So our government has linked our behavior in America with vis-a-vis unions with the labor practices of North Korea, the religious practices of Saudi Arabia. We have been linked by our own government to these people. Is that true?
Yeah, well, our own government did put that in the report. They do in the report say, well, we're not necessarily equating our behavior with other huge, violating countries, but they still put it in the report to be used against us by people around the world, and they put it in the context of a human rights violation when it's a policy disagreement. They're basically putting the AFL-CIO job-killing agenda into a human rights report when, what we really need in this country is to preserve the right to work. You had Richard Trumka's picture on here earlier. I saw you talking, and he opposes the right to work. Now, some might suggest that's a human rights violation. I wouldn't put that in the report either.
Okay,
but this shouldn't be in the report in the first place.
Now, there is this issue of card check, which would eliminate to some degree the secret ballot when workers are polled as to whether or what they want union representation. That is an issue which is before Congress. Do you think that this report to the United Nations was in some way being used to exert leverage on Congress, leverage on America, to get card check through Congress, even in a lame duck session? You think it's going that far?
Well, certainly we are very concerned that a lame duck Congress will try and force this on the American people.
A lame duck Congress would try to push through card check?
Well, you have the AFL-CIO and other unions. I think the SEIU has said they're going to spend $40 million on this election. They spent $400 million in the 2008 election, and this is their #1 priority. So in every place that they can, they are trying to push this agenda, which forces unions on the American workers.
Okay.
When workers already have rights in this country, we don't need to be paying dues to a union to give us rights that we already have, and that's why many people are rejecting them.
Okay.
But the Democrats get their political power and money from the unions. So yet that is why, even if they lose big in November, they may come back and try and force that through with the understanding that they wouldn't be able to veto it.
Barbara Comstock, thank you very much. I've got to be fair and balanced, and I will be. Let's move on to Bruce Rayner of Workers United, representing the union side of things. Bruce, good to have you with us.
Nice to be here, Stuart.
I got to say, sir, I was shocked and angered by the idea that my government in America would link our behavior in America vis-a-vis unions and link it to some kind of human rights abuse. Say it ain't so, Bruce. You can't be serious.
It's true. It's true that that's the position in the report to the United Nations. It's also true, in fact. Millions of American workers, Stuart, today have no right to organize a union. Public employees...
Wait. They have every right to organize.
Public employees in the state of North Carolina, for instance, have no right to organize unions. And South Carolina, Georgia, all
so
throughout
that's a human...
South.
Wait. That is a human rights abuse. Let's suppose you're right.
Yes, it is.
Okay. You're calling that a human rights abuse,
you do
which
not
you
have
will
the
take
right...
to... Wait a minute. You will take to the United Nations and embarrass this great country and put us in the same league as North Korea?
No. not putting us in the same league.
You are.
But when the United States, the greatest democracy in the history of the world, we must defend our democratic principles. The right to free association for public employees in North Carolina doesn't exist.
That's it? That's all you've got? You say that it's restricted in North Carolina, so we're human rights abusers?
There are over 20 states where public employees have no right to free association. FedEx drivers have no right to form a union because the company says, under some technicality, that their contractors, when UPS drivers are workers, and have a right to form a union. So FedEx drivers...
You picked little individual... Yes, little.
There
you
are
have
hundreds
picked
of thousands
tiny
of FedEx
little
employees,
tiny little examples,
of American
and you now
workers.
say that this great democracy abuses human rights.
Stuart,
that's embarrassing,
Over 1 million domestic workers in America have no right to organize. Agricultural workers. There are millions of Americans that have no right to free association. That's one
Are you
point.
telling me that they cannot get a secret ballot and vote
Absolutely
to unionize?
cannot.
Not allowed to. There's a law which says so?
Yes.
Is there?
In over 20 states, public employees can't organize, which is millions of public employees. There are millions of American workers...
And there is no right by the authorities on any occasion,
Zero.
Ever...
Under
wait a minute.
the law.
There is no right by any authority on any occasion to limit unionization in any industries.
Oh, no, there's
You're
a right
saying that there should be... every industry should be completely equal, all the same.
Except for the military.
Police officers, military...
Except for the military. Police officers have a right to...
Is it an abuse of human rights if we do not allow the military to unionize?
No.
Why?
The military should not be able, because it's a different institution. The fact is...
Police officers are not?
And police officers do have the right to
teachers are not?
And teachers do have the right.
Yes.
But so should all American workers. And then the second thing is, even under the existing laws, the National Labor Relations Act, when workers organize, over half the time after the workers win very one-sided elections where the employer has all the power, when workers win, they never get a union contract. The fact is, it is the hardest country in the free world to organize unions, is the United States of America. We are the greatest democracy.
So you report us to the United Nations.
And so it is...
You report us to the United Nations, a den of thieves.
It's called...
And you say that we're abusing
I don't call the UN a den of thieves.
You don't?
Stuart, I don't.
I do.
But it also is
do,
transparency and bringing the public spotlight to these issues. The fact
yes,
is...
you've embarrassed us. You have embarrassed us. That's bringing the public spotlight. You have embarrassed America.
I think it's embarrassing.
You have sided with our enemies.
No, we haven't.
You're in the same camp as our enemies.
No.
That's disgraceful,
That's
sir.
a terrible
I'm sorry, we must
exaggeration,
agree to
Stuart.
differ, but that, sir, is disgraceful.
The fact is, America needs good-paying jobs, and workers should have the right to organize to get those jobs. The biggest problem in this country is income inequality and a lack of good jobs.
That's the biggest problem?
And unions are one of the ways that workers can correct that imbalance.
Thank you very much, Bruce Rayner. We do appreciate you being with us. Thank you, sir.
I appreciate being here.
Okay, sir.
It's quite comical, actually, when you realize the difference between reality and what some people are talking on TV about.